just joining us, Paul Dowding is with us, better known as Paul the Waterman. 303-862-5554 is the number. You can check him out at paulthewaterman.com. All right, Paul, I did get a text in here. We're going to cover some well water question here in just a moment, but PFAS, P-F-A-S. Educate us, sir.
Okay, from the news desk, what are PFAS? PFAS, formerly known as per and polyfluoroalkyl substances. Now, I cannot repeat that again. It's very technical.
How about polyfluoroalkyl?
Easy for you to say. Okay, these are.
I just tried to read that one time.
Polyfluor. What did you say?
Don't make me do it twice. Polyfluoroalkyl.
So guys, ladies and gentlemen, you have to realize this must be a really serious contaminant if they put it in a word that you can't pronounce. Okay? So it's a large family of man-made chemicals that have been widely used since the 1940s, most commonly in non-stick cookware, food packaging, stain and water repellent, so like your deck stain, the stains we used to, the old wood shake roofs that people did, and firefighting foams. Now, firefighting foams is the big one. And so, especially here in Colorado with all the forest fires, so all this firefighting foam that was used, that absolutely gets right back into our water supply. So this is a contaminant that's been around, if my math is correct, for over 80 years, right? Yeah, 80 years, okay. So why are they a concern? Well, the PFAS, known as forever chemicals, because they resist degradation. They don't break down. And so they accumulate in the environment. Now, I've used the word bioaccumulation. And so in our body as well. So you get accumulation in the environment, and everything we eat and drink that has a forever chemical builds up in our body over time. And so the potential health effects and exposures include increased risk of testicular and prostate and kidney cancers, decreased fertility and other reproductive effects, developmental effects in children, elevated cholesterol, abnormal hormone levels, and weakened immune systems. So that's just, something that we've been talking about, since the springtime and into summer. We've been definitely wanting to, beat the drum on this forever chemical. And it started when communities, received a letter warning them of the levels of the PFAS. Now, the webinar that the EPA held against this contaminant recommended that the levels, safe levels, get down to 4 part per trillion. Now, a part per trillion is a small number, right, in the grand scale of things. Used to be filters would shoot for between 14 to 17 part per trillion in the reduction of the chemical contaminant known as PFAS. But the EPA states that in order for it to be safe, you want it to get down to 4 part per trillion. Okay. Now, how can your family be exposed? Well, you're exposed to PFAS in a variety of ways, including normal household products, eating food, drinking water that's contaminated with PFAS, and I think that's where, it's in the food supply. It's basically has taken over in an environmental. You want to talk about environmental impact?
Okay.
This is what PFAS is. It's affected our environment, every single aspect of the environment. So since the 40s.
Yeah. So what do you think? I mean, have we done this same testing? And you mentioned what are they testing for earlier? Are we thinking they've increased their testing over these last few years for all these different things we talk about? Or do you think they're kind of using ways maybe they were still doing 5 years ago in testing water?
I think that right now, I know that the state of Colorado does not have the ability at the state lab. Let's say the one I use a lot for other independent testing, I take it to 8100 Lowry Boulevard. And as of yet, they do not have a mechanism in place where you could take your water sample to the lab and have them test it for forever chemicals. So that's something that's still in the process of. You know, the EPA set guidelines for, you know, this contamination level. And as of right now, there's, I don't believe there's anyone that is approved for approved filter method for PFAS that could be used on a scale such as a municipal water supply. I know, you know, researchers are out there and they're trying to develop other ways to remove them. And they're working really hard and fast trying to create, you know, a scenario for that. But one of the things you have to think about is the filtration method that can remove PFAS is you're more effective in moving it from your home than you are from a municipality supply, basically because of the volume of water that is, you know, coming from the water treatment company or the water company going into your home. It's such a high flow rate that, you know, the system that you would have to be, you know, humongous in size and be able to handle high flow rates, you know, effectively. So what you have to consider is think about a water softener and then magnify that times, you know, 10,000. That's what you would have to, you know, have in order to treat a municipal water supply. So, you know, there's technology, you know, that we can treat it at each individual home.
Right.
And I happen to like that idea better because then, you know, you're the person that's responsible for the quality of your drinking water, and I think that's the way it should be.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about well water. We got a text in here asking, does well water need to be tested and treated? So let's talk about what you do if you go out to a client's home and they've got a well. How does that differ for what you do when you come to my house in Highlands?
Well, well water by itself should be treated because well water is your own individual responsibility. So the water, you know, there's not one well driller out there that when he goes to drill a new well can guarantee the quality of water that you're going to get. So, you know, that responsibility is up to you. So it's a good idea to, you know, to get it tested. We do the basic on-site testing, you know, the physical aspects of the water, the acidity, the iron content, the hardness, and the total dissolved solids.
You can do that.
I can do that. And then we recommend folks take a sample, you know, for basically the bacteria part of it. You know, the coliform, you know, bacteria is something that, you know, I definitely recommend people, you know, think about doing as well.
Mm-hmm.
And E. coli is another part. If you have coliform bacteria, 9 times out of 10, it won't be harmful, but it's a precursor to other potential problems. And folks that have immune issues and, you know, and older people, you know, can have, you know, issues when it comes to coliform bacteria in the water.
Wow. Do you find most of the time with well water that people thought, oh, we get a well, we've got this fresh spring water. Just for
Right. Yeah. There's absolutely people. There's a lot of folks that are moving from the metro area out to rural locations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just because of, you know, a lot of people want to move out, you know, to the rural area for safety. You know, they're a little concerned about, you know, population and what's going on, and, you know, violent crime. I've heard people talk about school districts are another thing.
Sure.
And then just, you know, getting out of the what they call the rat race of living in town. And so, but what they don't think about is the quality of water. And so everybody's assuming that it's going to be the same quality that as they get, you know, from a city water supply, meaning it's, you know, going to turn on, it's going to be clean, may smell like chlorine, but, you know, well water can have high iron content, extremely hardness, can have sulfur where it can create a smell, you know, so there's other, you know, issues that arise.
All right. And then on the well water too, I'll make sure we tell everybody you test the hardness.
Right.
Okay. And then it may be, you know, water softener. Of course, that's where you always like to start.
Right.
Just getting that.
Well, so soft water is a precursor to every single filtration system. I was talking to a gentleman this morning over the phone. He had an iron filter and then a single tank softener, and I had explained to him, you know, water filters, water softeners, those control valves are not, they don't pump water. All they are is just a monitoring device.
Okay.
A water softener or water filter uses the same water pressure providing to it. So whatever the well produces that's the water flow they're going to get. So I have a friend up in North Fort Collins. She does well drilling, and I can call her, and she can go on the state computer and look up the property address and tell me what kind of well pump is installed, because that's a log that's supposed to be updated and maintained. That well pump is going to tell me what the production rate of that well is, so then I can make sure that we're setting up the right piece of equipment. So back to the same thing that happened in Silverthorne, and the customer was talking on the phone. If you have an iron filter on well water, that filter media is probably around 100 pounds per cubic foot. It's very heavy. So conventional water filter valves or water softening valves aren't going to do anything to lift that heavy media. And what I mean lift, when it goes through its cleaning stage or its backwashing stage, that media is not going to get agitated or circulated during that process, where water softening resin will, because water softening resin is very light. So when you have a heavy filter media and it's a single tank filtration system, like I mentioned last week, if you use the same dirty water and you have iron content and you're trying to clean it or rinse it with the same dirty water, especially with iron, you're only increasing the problem. You're not doing anything positive whatsoever. So with well water, you want to know what the hardness iron content is, but the best filter system for well water, start to bad if you have hardness and iron, is start with a softener, dual tank softener. Then you can use a polishing filter after the fact to help with other contaminants that are there.
Right. Quick question on well.